Trump control Netanyahu, in your view?
Well, again, it's about pressures here. It's about what are the ways you don't. It's not about a matter of like a personal loyalty relationship. This is politics of the first order. That's what I'm trying to explain. So for President Trump to stop Netanyahu from doing this will be paying a price. He will have a big part of his MAGA constituency is very pro, not just Israel, pro-Netanyahu version of Israel. So this is the tension in the politics that I'm trying to explain, which is why you don't really want to start the trap in the first place.
And I asked you a second ago, no fence sitting, what happens next in this war based on everything you've studied for the last 30 years, the 20 years of doing simulations?
I think it's more likely than not that maybe not in the next week or two. I've said on my Substack, it's more likely than not we will get to a limited ground deployment here because of the enriched material that is floating around, and we know it's dispersing. We don't know where it is. And there could be literally hundreds of rooms, not much bigger than this size, maybe 2 or 3 times this size that we're in, that could be used to fashion a Fat Man-style A-bomb. Not to miniaturize it to put on a warhead. That would be more sophisticated. But if what you want to do is you want to have a Hiroshima bomb that can kill 75,000 people in a second, or 10 seconds, that is what they are in that's what we're talking about here. We're not talking about can they miniaturize the bomb to put it on the nose cone of a missile. They don't need it. That's very sophisticated stuff. We couldn't do that for 10 years.
So I guess there's two questions that come to mind. The first is, to understand someone's behavior, you have to understand their motivations. And I think a lot about where Trump is in his career, legacy, how much that matters to him. It appears, from what I've seen, the whole thing around him wanting to win the Nobel Peace Prize, the Peace Board, the being the president that stops all. It appears that he's thinking about how he's going to be remembered. And when I'm looking at some of his interviews recently, he's saying things like, I don't want it to be the case that in 10 years' time or in 5 years' time, the US have to go back in again because I didn't do a good job. And it made me start to believe that actually one of the reasons why we might escalate this war further from a United States perspective is because legacy changes in hindsight. And if we think about George W. Bush.
I think you're putting your finger on it, Stephen.
George W. Bush's legacy now is completely tarnished because of this war and actually how it ended.
Yep.
But it's a mistake in hindsight.
But also now mirror image that to the Iranians. Why aren't they thinking about their legacy? Think about that for a moment.
Sure.
Why would the supreme leader, 86 years old, decide he's not going to take too many more precautions? How many more months does he had cancer apparently? How many more months does he got? How does he want to go out? How does he really want to go out? What's he want to be remembered for? A coward? Or does he want to be remembered as somebody who stood up for Iran, the revolution, the whole thing he built his whole life for? You talk about Trump. So when I get into when the cameras go off and I get a chance to, again, let's just say go to the West Wing, I'm not seeing people being picky, minor, petty. I see them worried about their legacy. The national security advisors, their assistants, they're worrying about their legacy. Do they want to go down in the history of American history as X, Y, or Z? And this is how humans are. It doesn't stop with how much money do you have? It's what's going to happen with your legacy.
So with that in mind, if you think Trump is legacy motivated, does that increase the probability?
In part, I want to be careful. Yeah. In part, it's always a balance.
He can't be re-elected, so I'm that's not motivating him because you play differently if you think you can win a second term, which I knew would be important to him. But if he is legacy motivated now, when you think about which direction he's going to go in, it does appear on the balance of things that he's not going to want it to be left a mess.
And the biggest mess that could really embarrass him in his legacy with international is if Iran has a nuclear bomb and they detonate a test, say next September. Let's just imagine what would happen next September. So people need to think about, the discussion of Iran and nuclear bombs here is not very strategic. It's to scare you. It's, oh, they're going to get a bomb, and the first one's going to go on Tel Aviv, the second one's going to go on New York. I don't think that's the sequence. Why would they, if they're willing to commit suicide to take out Tel Aviv, they don't need 16 bombs, okay? If they're willing to have their entire population destroyed, they just need one bomb, take out Tel Aviv, they're done, right? That's not what's going on. They're following the North Korea plan. The North Korea plan, that North Korea figured out when we went through this with North Korea in the 90s, okay, the very same thing, well, except we didn't do the bombing because it was not going to, we avoided the trap. What they want is multiple bombs at the same time. So what they want to do, if they can do this, is have, say, 5 bombs working at the same time. And the first bomb goes off as a test in the mountains. And then what do we say? Oh, they blew it. They're stupid. They blew their one test. And then they do a second test. Still in their mountains, okay? When we dropped the first bomb on Hiroshima, it wasn't clear we had any more. When we dropped the second one, nobody needed to wait for a third or fourth. Nobody really, they knew more would come. You see what I mean? So with Iran, the